As we ramp up back into making some videos for this channel, I think there's no better time than to jump back in the lab and start experimenting again. In today's episode, digital versus film. In my last video, I was shooting with my Nikon F100 as usual, but I decided to bring my Fuji XH2s along as well. And as I was editing that video, just seeing the digital and film side by side, it gave me inspiration in that moment. A video diving deeper into the differences between shooting film and digital. Now, don't get me wrong, I know this is not an original idea. There's tons of people who've made the technical differences between film and digital, the sharpness, the grain, the lens choices, that whole shebang. But I'm more concerned with how it feels, what emotions are invoked when shooting one over the other, the artsy-fartsy subjective joy that comes with this art form. Now, I won't lie, it's gonna be hard to topple the love I have for film, but if there's any camera that can do it, it is the Fuji XH2s. It's probably my favorite digital camera I've used. Emphasis on the digital. Now, I've been with all the major camera brands. Don't gear shame me, I just like to know my options. But from Canon to Nikon to Sony to Fuji, this camera has allowed me to create in the most versatile way possible. If I'm having a brain dead day and I don't really want to put that much effort in, I can do that. If I want to get super involved and tweak all my settings hyper specific to my scene, I can do that as well. There's just tons of possibilities that I feel with this camera. So we have a couple of different scenarios to test and experiment with today. But the first one is another lovely portrait session at sunset, down by the water in Burlington. So sit back, relax, grab a snack, and join me in a game I'm calling DIGIFILM THROWDOWN. Can you spot the difference? Spoiler alert, it's not that hard to spot. Anyways, I will say, like I said before, spoiler alert, it wasn't that hard to tell the difference. With these images, these are obviously just TIFF scans from the lab on the Nikon part, some Kodak Gold 200, and for my Fuji, I shot in the Fuji RAW format and edited them with my Fuji-like presets in Lightroom just for the shits and gigs. Looking back at these captures, what I notice is in the digital images, they're just a little bit too much green for my liking when I compare them to the Kodak Gold I shot in my Nikon. But that's why we do these things, to observe and to ultimately tweak and fine tune. Like I said before, it would be hard to knock off my love for the film look. Hence why all the Lightroom presets I use are film emulations, and all my color grading is basically a film emulation as well. And that rings true for these images. There is one digital capture that I do want to highlight where I like the digital version more than the film. It's just so beautiful and glowy, and the film counterparts just really didn't turn out that well. So this is a clear standout for me on the digital capture side. You know the saying, two to make it true. So you know we're gonna have to run this experiment back and tweak a little bit of the variables and just see if that changes how we feel in the overall conclusion. So the first thing we're gonna switch is actually to a black and white format. In my Nikon, I'm gonna be shooting Ilford SFX 200. And the other thing I wanna switch is a more fair comparison. In the color version, I did my Fuji RAW editing skills against just the straight out of camera Kodak Gold. Where in this scenario, I actually want to use the film simulations inside my Fujifilm, and the one I chose was the Acros film simulation with the Y filter selected. So let's just get started in a nice little dingy parking garage and load the SFX 200 into my Nikon. The nice thing with digital is you can really move at your own pace. You can shoot as much as you need to really warm up and find the compositions you're trying to capture, instead of feeling like you're wasting money on each shots that you don't think will turn out. At the same time, it's so easy to overshoot, like this shot with the cyclist. I'm still warming up, so I'm kind of fiddling with my settings, fiddling with my composition to the point where I miss the moment to capture it on film. But luckily, I'm still pretty happy with the digital version. This is a great back-to-back comparison for the film look and the digital look. It's really cool that I can change that sort of thing in the Fujifilm with putting on the Acros Y filter and filtering out for yellow colors, but I just don't know if it works as well in this graffiti heavy setting. This is another great comparison as it shows the disparity of tonality between the film and the digital, just with what I was talking about using the Y filter. And there's just so much more grit and texture and graininess that comes with the film version that lends itself so much more to this type of environment. Something digital has going for it is just the existence of a simple screen. More specifically, the flip out screen on the Fuji. Being able to actually see what you're composing, make sure that you're in focus, and guarantee that you have the shot is just invaluable. But the blind faith in the Nikon did work out because I loved the film version of this shot. Just want to highlight these shots, nothing to do with the comparison between film and digital. I just thought the subject was so interesting. They must have had some crazy battles with some pigeons to install that many spikes in such a small spot. I think it's so funny and so interesting. This is actually the first digital image that I like more than the film version in this black and white scenario. This scene just has so much going on. There's so many little intricate details and so many little things to look at and parse out that the overall softness, roughness, and graininess of the film makes it really hard to follow. So it's a really good example of showing you the sharpness and resolving power of a digital image. So with that, I think we can conclude our very intensive experiments. I think this is a great exercise to do, to sit back and critically analyze your own process as a photographer. It can tell you so much about what you like to capture, what draws your attention, and ultimately helps build your overall visual language. When it comes to shooting digital, there are tons of creature comforts, like being able to pace yourself and not worry about wasting shots, being able to use a flip out screen as a viewfinder and ensuring critical focus and your composition is where you want it to be. Dual card slots recording for backups, being able to choose a ton of different filters inside your camera. There are so many features that come with digital to make photography easier, and more are released each year. But there are inherent side effects that come with shooting digital that just don't exist for film. For example, I had to sort through 200 images from this photo walk alone versus 38 from the film side, just adding an extra step that becomes more demanding the more you shoot, and adding in the potential for analysis paralysis to get in the way of the creative process. The question of digital or film really just becomes one giant balancing act. Film is more expensive, digital takes more time investment. Film, you get less shots, digital, you get more shots. The sharpness and resolution of film or digital being a positive or negative based off your scene. There's just so much to think about, so much noise when it comes to this question. But through all that noise, what matters most is how you feel processing and capturing this medium, the sights and sounds you engage with using a film camera versus a digital camera. And making this video has shown me that it's not about the filmic look or the unlimited possibilities with digital that matter most to me. What matters most to me is the little things. The sound of a mechanical shutter clicking versus an electronic shutter. The tactile feeling of being able to load and unload a roll of film versus an SD card. Being able to perceive the world through a digital viewfinder versus an actual optical viewfinder. Your representation of work being either a stack of hard drives or a binder full of film strips. What matters most to me might not matter the most to the next person, but that's why it's important to experiment with these things and ultimately have fun with photography. And so with that, we love our nice little full circle moments. I think I've yapped enough. So if you enjoyed this episode of POV Photo Fun, let me know down in the comments. I really had a lot of fun making it. And also, I'm super curious if you were able to tell the differences while you're watching and what those differences were. So any thoughts on that? Leave them down in the comments below. Also, just want to highlight that the POV footage I shot in the second half of this video in the black and white scenario, it was different than my normal setup. If you know, for a while I've been using a really crappy iPhone POV rig, and it was just leaving a lot to be desired. So this was more so a comparison for me, just to see the difference in the footage, if I can actually tell from an iPhone to a proper action camera. And needless to say, no more shitty iPhone rig. The difference is just night and day. So in the future, expect some new and improved footage on the POV side. As usual, if you have any questions about gear or how I shoot, feel free to message me on Instagram at whoiscameronrollins. Feel free to follow me too. Shameless plug, road to 4K, pretty exciting. But if you have any of those questions, you can also just leave them down below in the comment section. I try my best to reply to them all. But otherwise, don't forget to like, share with your friends, and subscribe. Peace!